What up, humans? Kurumi here, and welcome to the Mobile Legends walkthrough. Today, we are going to walk you through our match with the newest hero, Ixia. For her battle setup, we focus on 2 item builds. We use the Kurumi way when the enemy team consists of squishy heroes, which prioritizes Blade of Despair on the mid-game for more burst approach. The other item build is used when there are more than one tanky or durable hero on the enemy team, which prioritizes Golden Staff and Sea Halberd to counter healing support heroes. For her emblem set, we only use one emblem set, which is the custom Marksman emblem set, to have additional attack speed to help you deal more damage during your ultimate skill. For the talents, agility to help you reposition faster in team fights or to chase after enemies or run away from them. Weapon Master boosts the attack power you gain from other sources such as items and emblems. Weakness Finder to slow enemies down both in terms of movement and attack speed, which is helpful in the early game. For the battle spell, Flicker is the best so you can relocate while your ultimate skill is activated. While the game is loading, assess the enemy's lineup including their spells and emblems so you know what they are capable of. In the marching phase, check the enemy's composition. Since the enemies have 4 magic damage dealers, we will go for tough boots to gain magic defense. We prioritized first skill first so we can easily harass the enemy gold laner with the skill's long range. Casting her first skill will deal damage to all enemies hit, slow them down, and increases your movement speed for a while. As much as possible, be aggressive to the enemy gold laner to keep them out of range from the minions so they will not receive any gold and experience. Take note that your passive triggers Siphon Starlium that heals you when you deal basic attack on an enemy with 2 stacks of Starlium charge. That means you can go against most marksman heroes without worrying about your health. So here, you can see the level gap because of our aggressiveness. Casting her second skill will push enemies if they are within this indicator, while enemies within this indicator will be sucked towards the center line and be stunned. When your health is low, you can utilize the heal from your passive by using your second and first skill on the minion wave. Then deal a basic attack to trigger Siphon Starlium and gain lots of health. You can also deal basic attacks on creeps to trigger your passive for HP restoration even for just a small amount. Just continue on healing using your first and second skill plus basic attack that triggers your passive. So here, we used our first skill to slow the enemy down and gain some movement speed to further run away from them. Casting Ixia's ultimate skill will let her use her first and second skill with a longer range. Also, she can deal basic attacks to up to 6 targets, which prioritizes heroes. When using your ultimate skill, make sure to cover most of the enemies as much as possible. We used our first skill in basic attacks to deal maximum damage and slowing effects on this situation. Ixia's basic attack has a long range which you can use to deal damage while keeping a safe distance. After Corrosion side, we are supposed to buy Wind of Nature. But since there are 4 magic damage dealers on the enemy side, we preferred to skip that and bought Demon Hunter Sword right away for extra basic attack effects. Take note that basic attack effects are applied on Ixia's basic attacks during her ultimate skill. Ixia's ultimate skill can reveal enemies within the area even if they are inside the bush. So I used my ultimate here to see if there are any other enemies aside from Nathan. The Siphon Starlium from your passive has more damage during your ultimate skill, so we decided not to cancel it. We used Flicker to reposition since Nathan blinked out, but you can also just cancel your ultimate if ever it's just a one-on-one situation. The range of your first and second skill has a long range which you can utilize going against long-ranged heroes. Since we are dominating the enemies so far, we decided to buy Radiant Armor to counter the 4 mages to better sustain in team fights. Take note that buying this item is situational only when you feel the need to protect yourself from magic damage. With her offensive skill set, she lacks the mobility to survive, so make sure to increase your map awareness further. Here is another scenario of using our ultimate skill. After casting it, use second and first skill to pull and stun enemies and let them receive the maximum damage from your first skill, then deal basic attacks. Make sure to use Flicker if you needed to reposition your ultimate skill. Use your first skill to chase after enemies.
Killing spree.
Here, we used our ultimate skill to deal damage to both of them and utilize the slowing effect of our basic attacks from our items and emblem talents.
This is a stick-up.
When going for Turtle or the Lord, it's best to use your ultimate so you can deal damage to both the objective and the enemy heroes. Have your second skill ready so you can stun or push enemies who tries to dive in. Since we already got our radiant armor, let's go for Blade of Despair to give further wrath to the enemies. If you are going to use Flicker to run away from enemies, make sure to use it towards your nearest teammates so they can respond faster. With the Kurumi Way build, look how painful the damage we are dealing to the enemies. This is another good example of good plotting of your ultimate skill which covered all of the enemies in the area. You can use your first skill to check if there is an enemy in the bush. If you slightly gained movement speed, then that means there is an enemy inside. When you are chased, you can use your second skill to push enemies and stun them. Here is our last example of another good placement of Ixia's ultimate skill which covered most of the enemies. We used Flicker without knowing our ultimate already ended, so make sure to keep your awareness into its duration as well. Additional tip: you can use Wind of Nature even during your ultimate skill to protect you from physical damage to be more sustainable in teamfights if there are lots of physical damage dealers on the enemy team.